Elon Musk shocks Millionaire after finding a missing black homeless woman in his apartment. Jack Reynolds never expected his morning to start like this. He woke up in his New York City penthouse, glass walls stretching from floor to ceiling, the city sprawling beneath him like a glittering jungle of lights. But then, standing right in the middle of his polished marble floor, was a woman. She looked out of place. Not because she was striking. No, Amara was bruised. Her clothes threadbare and hanging on her like a second skin. Her eyes were sharp, but filled with shadows of pain. Dark curls framed a face carved by streets and cold nights. Jack's heart slammed in his chest, not from fear, but from something deeper, colder. Why was she here? And how? Jack stumbled back, almost knocking over a sleek glass sculpture. "Who were you doing here?" His voice cracked like brittle glass. Amara didn't answer. She just stared at him, her gaze slicing through the silence like a knife. Then, softly, almost like a whisper carried on a bitter wind, she said, "I'm the woman no one wanted to find." For years, the city had whispered about Amara, the black homeless woman who vanished without a trace. No one knew where she disappeared to. No one but Jack. At that moment, the unthinkable pressed tight against his ribs. She was in his penthouse, in his world. News had broken an hour before. Amara found. The mystery woman returns. Out on the street, phones buzzed madly. Reporters swarmed his building, their voices wild rumors spilling like blood in the gutters. Jack's hands trembled. This wasn't just a woman with a missing past. This was the key to a secret buried deep within his empire. The tech company he built, the projects he denied, all suddenly smoldering with uncertainty. His phone buzzed. A text from Marcus King, his old business partner, flashed. "Saw the news. Big chance or big mess? Let's talk." Marcus was known for taking down anything or anyone that stood in his way. If this scandal blew up, Jack knew Marcus wouldn't miss the chance to land a lethal strike. Amara's voice cut through his spiraling mind. "You know about me, about the project." Her eyes burned. "You buried the truth before I disappeared." Jack's chest tightened, a cold squeeze crushing the breath out of him. The ties snapping loose now weren't just rumor or scandal. They were chains, forged by his family's darkest secrets. He swallowed hard as Amara pulled out a folded paper from her jacket, stained with dirt and soot. With shaking fingers, she unfolded it. A faded blueprint, marked with names, dates, and a logo. One that was unmistakably linked to Jack's company, to a project no one outside had ever seen. "I found this," she said, voice shaking but firm. "It's not just about me. It's about what they wanted to hide, and what they're still willing to kill for." The city's noise seemed to fall away. Jack's whole world narrowed to that paper, to Amara's desperate eyes, and to the heavy question pounding in his veins. How much was he willing to lose to uncover a past that might destroy everything he built? And who was watching? The shadow of a hidden enemy crept closer. The game had only just begun. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like. That really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Jack's breath hitched. She knew everything. His empire, the glass and steel, the victories and accolades, suddenly felt as fragile as the very paper she held. But as Amara's eyes burned with fury, the door to his penthouse burst open, a wild gust of chaos spilling into his life. Marcus King stormed in, face twisted with disbelief. "What the hell is going on, Jack?" he spat, his words sharp as shards of glass. He stepped over the threshold like it was a crime scene, his presence sharp and demanding. "You invited the ghost of our past into your home?" "Marcus!" Jack barked, trying to keep control. "This isn't what it looks like." "Then what is it?" Marcus shot back, his gaze flicking between Jack and Amara. "She's back from the dead, and you're just standing there?" Before Jack could respond, Amara's voice rose, steady and fierce. "You don't know anything about me, Marcus. You think you can control the narrative? You buried me, just like you buried the truth." Marcus's laughter was mocking, yet there was an edge to it. "Truth? The truth doesn't matter. What matters is what people think. And right now, you have a ghost in your penthouse." With a sudden motion, he pointed. "And we both know how that can end. You think she's here to be your savior? She's a liability, Jack." Jack's heart pounded harder as he glanced at Amara. Was she indeed a liability? Or was she his last hope? "As if you care about anyone but yourself," Amara retorted, her voice rising to a near shriek. "You play the martyr, but your hands are soaked in guilt, Marcus." "Guilt? You think this is about guilt?" Marcus shot back, a twist of rage and fear crossing his face. "It's about survival. Do you know how much is at stake? I built everything you have." Amara interjected, stepping forward, the anger radiating from her like heat from a fire. That's when everything erupted. The front door slammed open again. This time, it was a group of reporters, cameras flashing like thunder, drawn by the scent of drama. They burst into the penthouse, voices shouting questions, the clamor mixing into a ferocious storm. "Is it true? Amara, are you back for revenge? Jack, how do you respond to allegations of a cover-up?" The chaos swallowed him whole. Jack's head swam. In an instant, the room spiraled out of his control. They were all watching, waiting for him to react. His heart raced as he felt a weight of judgment press down. "Get them out!" he yelled, desperation clawing at his throat. But the reporters were already moving closer, cameras snaking in, eyes hungry for scandal. Amara's voice cracked through the chaos. "Jack, they are here because of you." Suddenly, in the midst of it all, a piercing scream erupted from the back of the crowd. "Look out!" A figure crashed through the door, dark silhouette, eyes wild, brandishing a weapon. Time seemed to freeze. Jack felt his pulse stall. Who was this? An enemy? A friend? The room went silent, tension thick enough to slice through with a knife. Then everything exploded into motion. "Get down!" Marcus shouted as the shadow lunged forward. and Jack lunged to grab Amara, pulling her behind him. "Why is this happening?" he thought, panic crashing against the shouts. He had sought to uncover truth, to confront demons from the past. But the hallway echoed with chaos, and now he realized this wasn't just about him or Amara. This was a shifting tide that could flatten everything. His empire, his relationships, even his own life. As the world turned into violence and terror, the question hung heavy in the air. Could he face the darkness lurking in his own creation, or would it consume him whole? Amara held the paper tightly, her hands shaking more with each second. The blueprint felt like a time bomb, ticking down with every heartbeat. Jack's world spun, and for a moment he lost grip on everything. But before he could speak, a loud crash echoed from the doorway, jerking them both around. A figure burst into the room. "What the hell is going on?" he shouted, eyes darting between them. The tension crackled like static electricity. He was supposed to be on the outside, but here he was, right in the heart of it. "Marcus!" Jack started, but the words stuck in his throat. "News travels fast, Jack. I heard everything while heading over. What are you hiding? What's that?" Marcus pointed an accusing finger at Amara. She stood defiant, tension coiling around her. "This is about truth, about secrets." "Done!" Marcus scoffed, rushing closer. "Truth? You mean the truth you've been feeding to the media? The narrative that sells?" He turned on Jack, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper. "You brought her here to cover something, didn't you?" Jack felt the walls closing in. "That's not enough," Amara shouted. Her voice rang clear, startling them both. "You don't know anything." Suddenly, all three of them froze. A piercing scream erupted from outside, unraveling the air like a jagged knife. The sound was raw, full of terror. Jack rushed to the glass wall, heart racing, and saw chaos unfolding below. People were running. News crews who had previously buzzed outside were now scattering. Cameras left unattended. Voices rose in panic, shouts, cries, sirens. "What's happening?" Marcus barked. "Is it connected to her?" Amara pressed her forehead against the cool glass, and Jack felt the warmth radiate off her. "It's happening again. They found me." Jack's gut twisted. "What do you mean, again?" Before she could answer, a tremor shook the building. The lights flickered. Shadows danced across their faces. Another booming crash echoed, this time from above. "Get down!" Jack yelled, grabbing Amara, just as debris shattered through the ceiling, raining down like confetti from a twisted celebration. The world turned to chaos. As dust settled, Jack blinked through the haze. He touched Amara's face, feeling her warmth, but something felt off. A flicker of recognition danced behind her eyes, fear mixed with something else. A flash of history. "Jack," she whispered, voice trembling. "I wasn't just missing. They took me because of you, your family." His heart stopped. The air thickened around them, the truth saturating every corner of the room. "What do you mean by that?" "They wanted to erase me, Jack. They thought I'd talk about the project. It's bigger than either of us. They can't cover this up anymore." Amara's voice rose, a mix of anger and pain. The smell of smoke drifted in. Outside, chaos erupted. Flashes of blue and red lights danced against the dark sky. Jack's mind raced. Who are they? What do they want? But before Amara could reply, another sound cut through the din. An echoing laugh, deep and cold. From the shadows stepped a figure Jack thought he would never see again. It was his father, a man who had vanished from Jack's life years ago. But here he stood, a smirk plastered across his face, as if he held all the keys and secrets to the game they were trapped in. "Son," he said, voice smooth as silk, "I see you finally found your little mystery." Jack's breath caught, everything spiraling into darkness. He was about to plunge into a world he wasn't ready for, a truth that could destroy him. "Stop right there!" Jack shouted. But his voice trembled, echoing doubt. The pieces of his life were about to shatter in ways he couldn't even begin to comprehend. And all the questions rolled into one. What had he truly built? And at what cost? The stakes just soared! Jack felt his heart lurch as his father's familiar figure loomed over them, the room pulsing with tension. His eyes darted from Amara, who stood rooted in shock, to Marcus, who wore an expression of smug satisfaction. It felt wrong, like a tightrope ready to snap. "Dad, what are you doing here?" Jack's voice wavered, a mix of anger and disbelief. "You disappeared, and now you show up right when everything is falling apart?" A laugh, rich and chilling, spilled from his father's lips. "Oh, Jack, you've always been so naive. This chaos is all part of the plan, and you, my son, are right in the middle of it." "What plan?" Or, Amara's voice trembled, but there was a fierce light in her eyes. "You think this is a game?" "Exactly, Amara. You should understand that by now. Life is a game, and stakes are rising," he said, stepping forward, the arrogance spilling off him like smoke. Jack felt the air thicken. "You used her!" he spat, rage coiling tight in his gut. "She's not a pawn in your twisted game." His father's eyes narrowed. "She's the key, Jack, the missing link to everything we wanted. The blueprint, the secrets." Suddenly, the room jolted as a loud bang echoed from the living room. A freezing chill swept in, the shadows shifting violently. Jack turned, every muscle tensing as he saw it. A man clad in black, rushing past the crowd of reporters who still buzzed outside, brandishing something shiny. "Stop!" shouted Marcus, but his warning was swallowed by chaos. As the figure lunged forward, everything happened in slow motion. Amara screamed, but Jack was already moving, leaping to shield her. A deafening shot rang out. A sharp sting pierced his shoulder like fire. He felt the world spin as he crashed into Amara, hitting the ground hard. "Jack!" Amara's voice echoed in his ears, filled with terror. He couldn't move, pain radiating through him. Blood soaked his shirt, hot and searing. A flurry of shouts erupted. "Get down! Call the police!" The chaos spread like wildfire. Jack pressed his hand against the wound, feeling the warmth seep through his fingers. Voices shrieked, reporters pulled back, and Marcus had dropped to the ground, panic painting his face. Jack's vision blurred, but one hazy figure stood out. His father. A look of cold satisfaction flickered across his face. "Well, Jack," he said, almost a whisper, "this is what happens when you question the truth." "What did you do?" Jack struggled to get the words out, agony gripping his chest. But before he could get an answer, something unexpected happened. His father's demeanor shifted. Instead of triumph, confusion clouded his face as he looked down at Jack. "No, it wasn't supposed to go this way," he muttered under his breath, a crack in the facade. "You were meant to be above all this. You were supposed to." Then, in a shocking twist, his father collapsed, clutching his chest. "No, not again," he gasped, staring at Jack with a wild mix of betrayal and fear. Jack's energy drained, the pain momentarily forgotten. What was happening? The vision of Amara blurred, her wide eyes reflecting panic, confusion swirling within him like a storm. "Dad, no!" Jack gasped, crawling toward him. But something deep within him whispered, "This can't end like this. You don't get to just leave again." The crowd surged, chaos erupting as medical help arrived, confusion and panic ricocheting in every direction. Jack felt the pressure of 1,000 eyes, the weight of their judgment heavy as he tried to process everything. His father writhing, the shots fired, and Amara's frantic expression. "Jack, we need to go," Amara urged, the urgency in her voice snapping Jack back. But before he could respond, another shocking moment broke through the din. News reporters captured everything on camera, their questions spiraling deeper into the chaos. One managed to push through, microphone aimed at the scene. "Jack, is your father responsible for Amara's disappearance?" Everything hung in the air. A charged silence where only Jack's racing heart beat loudly. The question loomed. Could he really trust his father was the monster he'd become? And what darker secrets were brewing beneath the surface, waiting to consume them all? With blood trickling still and uncertainty clawing at him, he realized the game had shifted for everyone involved, and the truth was a far more dangerous player than he had ever. Instinctively, he turned, adrenaline flooding his veins. The glass sculpture he had almost knocked over now lay shattered on the floor, glimmering dangerously like a field of stars in a dark sky. His gaze flicked to Amara. Her expression shifted from steely defiance to sheer panic as she crouched low, instincts honed by years of survival on the streets kicking in. "Get down!" she hissed, eyes wide. Before Jack could react, the door burst open. Two figures stormed in, faces obscured under dark masks. The moment propelled Jack into a world of chaos. His mind whirled. These were no ordinary intruders. It was a stage set for some deep-seated nightmare. His blood ran cold as the bigger of the two men leveled a gun straight at him. The weapon gleamed menacingly under the sunlight filtering through the glass wall. "Where's the girl?" he barked, voice low and gritty, filled with urgency and malice. Jack's throat closed up. "What are you talking about?" He was desperate, trying to buy time, yet fear gripped him hard. Amara's voice, steady and glaring even in chaos, interrupted. "You're too late. She's right here." The man with the gun twitched, eyes snapping to Amara. "You should have stayed hidden," he growled. Without thinking, Jack lunged in front of her, instinctively wanting to shield her. But the crack of a gunshot sliced through the air. Time paused. The sound echoed, ricocheting off the marble, a terrible note in a symphony gone wrong. But rather than blood or anguished cries, Jack felt a strange rush of warmth wash over him. He staggered backward, eyes wide. Confusion consumed him. The intruder had shot himself? The second figure let out a terrified gasp. What the hell? It was a shocking sight. The man, hand still gripping the gun, had turned the weapon on himself. In a panic, he dropped to the floor, blood pooling beneath him, spreading like his dark intentions. Chaos erupted. Amara darted forward, her instincts telling her to assess, to act. Jack stood frozen, wrestling with disbelief. Was this all a setup? How did they know she was here? The living room, once a sanctuary filled with ambition, transformed into a grotesque theater of blood and betrayal. Jack's mind raced, thoughts flickering through the shadows of his past and present. "Ama! How did they find you?" She turned, eyes wide, but before she could respond, the walls of his world began to close in. Marcus's face flashed in his mind, his voice full of mockery as he had once said, "All it takes is one weak link." Suddenly, Amara gasped, clutching the blueprint. "It's not just about me, Jack. You don't understand what you've unleashed." Her words sank like stones in his gut. Outside, a crowd gathered, whispers rising, eyes drawn to the scene. Jack could already feel the weight of the cameras capturing everything in this moment of horror. His empire, built on ambition and innovation, was now teetering on the brink of complete collapse. In that chaos, something inside him snapped. Was this all an act? Did she know these men? His breath quickened as he stepped closer, desperation clawing at him. "Amara, tell me, what is happening?" Her gaze pierced him, the shadows of her past swirling just beneath the surface. And then, just as he reached for her, she said, "Sometimes what you think you own owns you." The words struck him like a punch, and with that ominous note hanging in the air, everything he thought he understood about her, about himself, began to unravel in slow, suffocating layers. What would this revelation mean for them both? There was no going back now. Jack's heart thudded in his chest, each beat echoing the weight of Amara's words. The blueprint lay between them like a chasm. She had it, the unfiltered truth of a project that could unravel everything he built. But as he prepared to reach for it, suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the other side of the apartment. What was that? Jack's voice trembled, eyes darting to the door. The sound of shattering glass sent a jolt through his body, and the thought of an intruder sent fear crawling up his spine. Amara stiffened, her eyes wide and frightened. "Someone's coming!" she whispered harshly, clutching the blueprint tighter. Jack moved quickly, instinct driving him as he grabbed Amara's arm. "We need to hide!" But before they could react, the door burst open, revealing a figure in a dark coat, face half hidden beneath a hood. The intruder stood with an air of authority, features obscured, but the threat palpable. "Find her!" the figure shouted into the hall, voice sharp as a blade. Jack's breath caught. This wasn't just a break-in. It was a hunt. In a flash, Amara yanked her arm free. "Go!" she cried, her voice sharp with urgency. "Don't let them see you." Jack hesitated, his instincts torn. The man in the doorway was focused on Amara, and he could feel the tension crackling in the air. Like a live wire, he turned on his heel, moving towards a rear hallway. as voices surged from the corridor outside. Every step was heavy with dread. "Amara!" he called, panic bubbling in his throat. "Where do I go?" Then he froze as a new voice joined the chaos, one that sent a chill through his bones. "She's here! I saw her!" It was Marcus. Jack's past collided with his present. The betrayal, the urgency. Why would Marcus be involved in this? Now, the very man Jack thought he could trust was part of the threat looming over them. He ducked behind a wall just in time to see Marcus stride into the apartment, eyes darting around like a predator, searching for prey. "You think you can hide from me?" Marcus growled, jaw set tight. "You were always just a means to an end, Amara." "Jack!" Amara's voice rang out from the other side of the penthouse. "Help me!" Jack's heart raced as he weighed his options. He could rush in like a fool, risking everything. But the memory of that blueprint battled against his fear. He couldn't let it fall into Marcus's hands. Then, in an unexpected move, Amara seemed to square her shoulders, confronting Marcus head-on. "You don't own me anymore, Marcus. This ends now." Jack's breath caught. Could she really stand up to him? ... Feelings surged within him, pain, anger, a relentless hope. But then, reality twisted painfully as Marcus grinned, a smirk laced with malice. "You think you're safe now? You have no idea who you're dealing with. They won't let you slip away again." Suddenly, the room shook with the sound of footsteps getting closer. The tension was electric. Jack peeked around the corner, catching sight of more figures, darker silhouettes creeping into the light. He felt the rush of something terrible, their secret exposed, no longer buried in the shadows. Would Amara's fierce stand cost her everything? What did Marcus really know, and how deep did the betrayal run? Before he could decide, the door shattered. The figures rushed in like wolves. Jack's heart stopped, breath freezing in his lungs. Amara held the blueprint trembling in her hands, caught between two worlds. Then, in a blink, a sudden shot rang out, echoing sharply in the air. Jack's thoughts spiraled, confusion twisting into pure horror. What just happened? The world spun, and Jack's reality shattered along with the glass around him. Everything he thought he understood shifted, and in that moment, he realized his life may never be the same. What had he unleashed? Jack felt the weight of that blueprint in the air, the tension twisting tighter in his chest. Amara's eyes were fierce, yet so vulnerable. He opened his mouth, ready to speak, but another voice cut through, echoing like a bell tolling in his mind. "Jack?" Heart racing, he turned toward the sudden voice. The door to his penthouse swung open with a soft click, revealing a figure he never expected to see. Sarah, his sister. The look on her face froze his blood. She stood there, eyes wide, panic rushing to her cheeks. "Sarah?" Jack's voice sounded small, lost in the growing avalanche of emotions. "What are you doing here?" But what happened next shattered everything. Sarah's gaze flicked past him to Amara, and something dark flared in her eyes. "You shouldn't be here!" she yelled, and in one swift motion, she pulled out a small, sleek pistol, pointing it at Amara. Don't do this, Sarah!" Jack shouted, the words tearing from him like a lifeline tossed in turbulent waters. "Put it down! Stay back!" Sarah's voice trembled, but it shook with a conviction Jack had never heard. "You don't understand. You can't let her expose us." What are you talking about? Jack felt the room spinning, confusion wrapping around him like a thick fog. Us? She's just... Amara is not just a homeless woman, Sarah shot back, urgency stitched into her tone. You think she disappeared by chance? They took her. They took her to silence the truth about you. About our family. Jack's stomach lurched as he processed the new reality crashing around him. What truth? He demanded, a mix of anger and fear bubbling in his chest. What are you hiding? I can't tell you here. She glanced at Amara, who stood frozen, a storm of emotions brewing behind her eyes. But you can't trust her. She was the key to everything. Then, as if the world had flipped, Amara stepped forward, her hand shaking, but her voice steady. The truth is bigger than you both realize. The project wasn't just research. It was a weapon. Your family used it, used me. You were never meant to find me alive, she said, cutting through the tension like a knife. Jack's breath hitched. The revelation hit him like a physical blow. What? The word exploded out of him, each syllable tinged with disbelief. You think I had something to do with this? Amara's lips pressed together, her eyes flickering between Jack and Sarah. All of you have blood on your hands. A loud crack echoed, and Jack's heart stopped as Sarah pulled the trigger. The world erupted into chaos, color fading as he turned, instinct gripping him to shield Amara. In a split second, a piercing scream shattered the stillness, and Jack's vision narrowed into a tunnel. Time slowed. He glanced back, dread coiling in his belly. But it wasn't Amara who screamed. It was Sarah. The sound was raw, deep. A spray of crimson bloomed on her shirt, soaking through fabric like a dark flower opening. She had shot herself. Jack stumbled back, eyes wide, disbelief numbing his thoughts. No, 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 no! His heart raced, panic flooding his veins. Amara's eyes looked up at him, and in that moment, they were filled with something deeper, a reflection of pain, fear, and an unsettling truth. Jack felt the ground shift beneath him as everything began to unravel. The blueprint, the secrets, the choices, it all spiraled out of control like a roller coaster tumbling down a steep hill. He was left frozen, heart racing, as shadows moved closer, closer, like prey feeling the hunt. What had he just stepped into, and who was really pulling the strings? Jack's heart raced as he processed the scene in front of him. Sarah lay on the floor, blood spreading across the plush carpet like a dark flower blooming, her eyes wide with shock and betrayal. Amara's scream cut through the chaos, a raw sound that sent jolts of panic through Jack's bones. "No, Sarah!" he shouted, rushing toward her, every instinct screaming to help. He cradled her hand, the warmth of her blood seeping into his hands. "What did you do?" Her breath came in weak gasps. I had to. I couldn't let her take you away." Jack's thoughts whirled. "Take me? What are you talking about?" Before she could answer, a piercing wail echoed through the room, slicing through the chaos. It was a sound of anguish that sent shockwaves through the group. The two masked figures, still sprawled on the floor from the earlier skirmish, seemed to shift, their bodies twitching. Jack glanced back, confusion clouding his mind. What was happening? Just then, one of the masked figures suddenly rolled over and glared at Jack, eyes wild. "You don't know what you started," he hissed, voice hoarse. What do you mean? Jack stammered, pulling Sarah closer, urgency flooding him. Everything! The project? Your family? It's all connected! A sudden crashing sound rang out and Jack turned to see Amara charging toward the intruder with a mix of fury and fear. Enough. You think this is a game? Amara, stop, Jack yelled, but it was too late. In a flash, the masked man lunged at her, and with quick, desperate movement, pulled a small device from his pocket and pressed it to his temple. No! Amara screamed, but her voice fell into the void as the device emitted a blinding flash of light, illuminating the room like a spotlight. Jack shielded his eyes, heart racing. He heard screams, pure, unfiltered terror. The light pulsed, vibrant and blistering, spiraling around them in a dizzying whirl. And then everything went dark. Silence filled the air, thick and oppressive. Jack blinked, trying to adjust, but it felt like a weight on his chest, pressing down hard. He glanced around, disoriented. The room lay in shadows now, but a shape began to materialize, dark and looming, nearly human, but twisted and wrong. The shadows swirled toward it like moths to a flame. Then came a voice, deep and resonant, cutting through the darkness. You've unlocked it, Jack. You've dared to open the door. Jack's throat tightened, the words heavy with wrongness. What? Who are you? I am the consequence of your lineage. Everything you've built, it's all been a cover-up. A game played with lives, starting long before you were born. Jack's breath caught. What do you want? Your patience has run thin, and now you see. They'll come for you, the ones you trust and the ones you fear. It's all one grand design. Save yourself, or watch it all crumble. Before Jack could respond, the space around him flickered back to life. Sarah lay still, quiet, and lifeless. Amara's scream echoed in the distance, but it felt different now. Distant yet closer than ever. The masked figure in the corner faded from view, but something lingered. A sense that the truth had shifted. That everything Jack thought he knew was built on a fragile facade. As the reality of what he lost sank in, a shiver ran down his spine. He looked toward Amara, who stood rooted, eyes wide with horror, but also with understanding. What did they do to you? Jack asked, his voice shaking. Amara took a step back, trembling. They didn't take me, Jack. I went willingly to protect us. The air thickened with unspoken secrets, a web of betrayal and desperation settling around them. Everything spiraled into shadow as Jack's heart thundered. Could he trust anyone? And what did that ominous voice mean? What other truths were veiled beneath the surface, waiting to explode? The ground beneath him felt like it was collapsing, leaving him dangling in darkness. He was about to lose everything. Jack's chest felt like it was constricting, the weight of Sarah's lifeless body pressing down on him. The room was thick with shock, each breath a battle against the reality crashing in all around them. He could feel Amara's eyes on him, searching for answers, even as his own mind raced. All their secrets hung heavier than a leaden curtain. Jack, we need to get out of here! Amara's voice broke through his fog, but the urgency clashed with the horror laid out before them. And then a noise, loud and jarring, shattered the stillness. It was coming from the hallway that led to the penthouse door. Footsteps pounding like a drum, marching closer and closer. In an instant, the door flung open, and a figure burst in. A man, clad in black tactical gear, his face obscured by a dark mask, charged into the apartment. His presence surged like a tidal wave, overwhelming the heavy air. Before Jack could react, the intruder brandished a gun and shouted, "Everyone on the ground, now!" Shock struck Jack like a lightning bolt. "Amara!" he yelled, instinctively moving to shield her again. But the intruder was too fast, eyes scanning the room with laser precision. "Get down!" the man barked, motioning with his firearm. Jack obeyed, pushing Amara down with him. The urgency felt almost surreal, as if time stretched painfully thin. The sight of Sarah lay pinned to his mind like a haunting portrait. He couldn't focus, not with the chaos swirling around him. "Where is she?" the intruder snapped again, his voice low and gritty. "Where's the girl?" His gaze darted around the room, landing on the blueprint crumpled in Amara's hand. "Stay away from her!" Jack shouted, his heart racing. He could feel the desperation, the fear, rising like bile in his throat, and then it all unfolded in a dizzying rush. The intruder's eyes lit up, recognizing the blueprint. "You have it!" he hissed, lunging forward. Jack's hand instinctively flew to grab Amara's wrist. "Run!" But in the pandemonium, Amara's face shifted. "No, Jack! I can't let him have it!" Before Jack could comprehend, she tore free from his grasp and thrust the blueprint toward the intruder. "You're in the wrong place. It's not what you think." The man faltered, his eyes darting between Amara and Jack, uncertainty flickering across his face. "What are you talking about?" In that split second, the foundation of reality shifted again. Amara stepped forward, voice steady now. "What if I told you it's more than just a project? What if I said it's a way to bring down the entire operation?" Jack's heart sank as their conversation hung heavy in the air, every second stretching into eternity. The intruder held his ground, confusion turning into resolve. "Stop playing games, girl." But Amara pressed on, desperation in her eyes. "You don't understand. They're watching. They always are." "Now, what are?" Jack's heart. "You don't understand. They're watching. They always are." "Don't be stupid. I'm in. I'm done making a plan. Get over here. Everything went okay." With those words, everything exploded. A sharp crack pierced the air, but it wasn't a gunshot. A sudden blinding flash erupted from the blueprint. Amara gasped, and Jack's pulse raced. He felt the heat from the paper, felt it sear his skin. Then, darkness swallowed him whole. When Jack came to, gasping for air, the world had transformed. The sleek penthouse was gone. A dimly lit, cold room surrounded him, concrete walls rising like towering giants, flickering lights buzzing overhead like angry flies. He blinked, trying to shake off the disorientation. There, across the room, Sarah was standing, alive and whole, and beside her stood the masked intruder, now without his disguise, eyes wide and pleading. "Jack," Sarah said, voice trembling with uncharacteristic sincerity, "you need to listen to me. We're not who you think we are." Jack's mind spun. This was impossible. The truth threaded through his reality like a jagged knife, cutting deep into everything he'd known. "What do you mean?" The words came out hoarse, disbelief surging like a wave. "They made us," Sarah whispered, a heaviness in her tone. "They created us for this, for you." Amara stood nearby, eyes wide with the dawning horror of realization. "You were part of it all along," she breathed. "You were never meant to find me. You were part of their design." Jack felt every thread of his reality unravel at the seams, his heart pounding in tune with his breath. Everything he believed trembled on the edge of collapse as their voices blended into a terrifying choir. And in that moment, a shocking truth plunged into his soul. The very people he loved, believed in, and fought for might be the ones he needed to fear most. What had he truly unleashed? What dark web had he stumbled into? Only uncertainty loomed, gripping his heart like a vice. Jack's vision blurred, the edges of reality twisting in a kaleidoscope of fear and confusion. He felt Sarah's warm blood pooling beneath him, a stark reminder of how deep their family's secrets ran. The world was collapsing in on itself, shadows flickering as Amara stepped forward. "Listen to me," she shouted, her voice fierce. "We need to unite against them. They've controlled us long enough." The masked intruder shifted, uncertainty flickering across his face. The weight of her words hung in the air, drawing Jack's focus. Suddenly, the distant sounds of chaos grew closer. Yelling voices, sirens blaring, footsteps pounding. They were running out of time. "We can't stay here," Jack urged, pulling Sarah closer to him, desperate to keep her grounded. "We have to move." "Where?" "He knows the truth." Sarah gasped, panic creeping into her voice as she pointed at the intruder. "I don't know," Jack confessed, "but we can't let them win. We have to get to the others, find help." Before he could finish, the door behind them flew open, and the air crackled with tension. More figures rushed in. Agents this time, clad in dark uniforms, faces set in grim determination. "Hands up!" one of them shouted, weapons drawn. "You're surrounded." Adrenaline surged through Jack. He raised his hands, the gravity of the situation crashing down on him like a wave. "Wait!" he called out, fear twisting his insides. "We're not your enemies!" Amara seized the moment, stepping in front of Jack. "You have to believe us," she urged, desperation lacing her words. "We want to bring the truth into the light. We need your help." The lead agent hesitated, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. Jack seized this moment of doubt. "Listen to her. This isn't just about us. It's bigger than everything you know. We need to stop the project from being weaponized." The tension in the room hung thick, the air crackling with every heartbeat. The agent glanced at his team, weighing their options. "Drop your weapons!" Amara shouted again, voice cutting through the chaos like a knife. For a heartbeat, silence stretched. Then something shifted. The lead agent lowered his weapon, a flicker of understanding crossing his face. "What are you saying?" he pressed, uncertainty shifting the power in the room. Jack stepped cautiously forward, eyes locked on the agent. "It's about the cover-up. The project, my family, it's all tied up in lies and darkness. We're here to expose that, to protect ourselves, and more importantly, everyone else. The murmurs rippled through the agents, casting uncertainty into their ranks. Jack could almost taste hope on the air. "Please, stand with us." Then a loud crash broke through the tension, causing everyone to whirl toward the sound. A group of masked figures burst in, weapons raised, eyes glinting with menace. Jack's heart sank, panic clawing at him. "No!" he shouted, swinging around to shield Amara once more. "Run! Get out of here!" In the chaos, an explosion rocked the building. The walls trembled, and Jack felt himself spinning. Everything shattered into darkness. A moment later, he pushed through the haze, vision clearing to find Amara's gaze locked with his. "Together?" she asked, resolve intertwining with fear. "Together," he confirmed, his heart pounding in synchrony with hers. In that moment, they shared a pulse, defiance racing in their veins. With a shared nod, they moved, pushing forward into the fray, ready to fight for the truth, for each other. As they fought through the chaos, Jack sensed the end was near. This could be the moment everything changed. But even amidst the urgency, doubt lingered. What would they uncover? Would they survive this? Caught between shadows of the past and flickers of hope, Jack knew one thing for certain. They were deeper in this fight than they had ever anticipated. And on the other side, who would they become? The questions loomed heavy. But just as the weight of uncertainty collapsed in on him, a voice echoed through his mind. Light can only come through the darkness. As the noise closed in, Jack tightened his grip on Amara's hand, ready to embrace whatever mystery awaited them next. But before this shocking ending fades, you have to subscribe now. Don't wait even a second longer. Exclusive stories are reserved for our true fans. Smash that like button hard and help the algorithm spread this pulse-pounding tale. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories. What do you think will happen next? And share this video instantly with 5 friends who need this thrilling conclusion. You're part of this journey, and your support makes all the difference. Let's keep the story alive!